My name's Paul Barnes and I'm from a company called MAP. We're just about 30 seconds walk around the corner there on Blackfriars Street. We're fundamentally an accountancy firm. We've actually evolved into providing a full outsourced finance function to the digital creative industry specifically. So we work with our clients using Xero fundamentally as a cloud accounting system and make sure that they have the kind of finance function that they would have if they were a much larger business. So typically anything from startup up to about £5 million agency is who we operate with. Again, if you're a big agency, you have an FD, an FC and a bookkeeper, and for a small business to afford that would just be counterintuitive. So we help small businesses to access that kind of resource. I'm not here to promote MAP today though, just to give you a bit of a background. The guys at Jam PR and Sync have asked me to come and talk to you about how to build a more profitable and predictable agency, which fundamentally is what we help our clients to do. What I'm going to be sharing today and what I'm going to be talking about is largely about pricing, because it's my firm belief that it's only that by charging a premium price that you attract the ideal clients and you deter the poor clients that you don't want to be letting into your agency. And this is something that lots of people struggle with. I think people ask themselves the wrong question, which is, will my clients accept this price? Whereas the real question is, how much do I need to charge my services? And the right clients will pay the right price, and most people won't. And that's fine. You're not trying to serve most people. You're trying to serve the people that best fit what's required for your business to be successful. So again, a little bit more about me. I'm married, I've got a wife called Penny, I've got 2 little children, Benjamin who's nearly 3 and Harry who's 2 months. Very, very tired this morning, so if I start slurring my words in about half an hour, I'm really sorry. I was up to like midnight last night because Penny had like 2 hours sleep the night before. So it was my turn, regardless of the fact that I was presenting at 7:30 this morning. That's just the way it is. So everything I do is my purpose, my driving force is to support my family. And I guess that gives me a little bit of an unfair advantage because it's easier for me to make the difficult decisions that I need to make in my business because I'm doing it for them, not just for ego and ambition, but to build an asset that gives me and my family the life that we want. And I want to help our clients to do the same. I also founded a business called Go Proposal, and that came out of the back of MAP. That's a product for accountancy firms, which was launched out of, like most technology apps, proof of concept within MAP. So from day one of setting up MAP, I created a big spreadsheet like all good accountants do and listed all the services that I felt that a small business owner needed from their accountant and worked out how we would price for those services so that nothing was attached to time. It was always attached to tangible outcomes and very transparent. And it would work out how one person would pay more for a set of management accounts or a VAT return than another. And from day one, I used that as a tool to sit with my prospects on a big screen and work out what services are required for their business. I then met a guy called James Ashford a couple of years ago at a mastermind event. He looked at what I'd done, really liked it, but said we could make it better. And we turned that into a web application, incubated it within MAP for about 3 months. And then 18 months ago, we launched that to the accounting industry. And today we have 500 accountants in 12 different countries licensing that software offers. And that's all rooted in my firm belief that you work out the prices that you need to charge and you never discount. And you put those into a tool and you allow your team to go and sell your services like crazy, but they don't get to decide on the price. Because most of the time the people that are selling your services within your team, their remit is to please your clients. And one of the ways they'll please the client is by discounting and offering free stuff. And clients love free stuff. And what Go Proposal does is just to take a lot of that subjectivity and discretion out and make sure that your team are selling the right services at the right price for your business. We do actually have an agency version, but we're not promoting that yet because we found it much harder to impress creatives with a proposal solution than we have accountants. Anything better than a spreadsheet, accountants are just like loving it, lapping it up. Agencies are a bit more demanding, and rightly so. So we're working on that one. We have partnered with someone though who Jamie met a couple of weeks ago. Lee Goff built an agency in the States. He spent 10 years working stupid hours, tiring himself out, and then think it was like a heart attack, a divorce, and something else. Within, I think there was maybe a death in his family as well. And at that point, it triggered him to think, I need to get control of this business. Life's too short, and I need to make the difficult decisions that I've been putting off for all these years. And then he reduced his working time down to about 3 hours a week in the business. He built a KPI pack for his management team, and they had to come back to him every week and report the KPIs that he needed on his business. Lee has created a proposal tool himself, so a proposal template, which you're all able to access for free, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But again, that just helps to make this whole thing about pricing far more objective. I'll get now. So, again, alluding to something that I alluded to earlier is this idea of building a business that you actually design. And what's really shocked me since I've been in business is that very few people actually manage to do that. I think my kind of driving force comes from my dad, like a lot of people. When I was younger, I grew up with my dad hating and detesting what he did for a career. He left school in Glasgow at 15, went straight into plastering, self-employed. He's 70 next year. He's still plastering, and he's despised it from day one. He still despises it now. I could never get my head around the fact that he spent half of his waking time doing something that he doesn't enjoy. And I was never going to go into my career with making those same mistakes. And I think the bit that surprised me is that I saw my dad was like that. I can never understand why. Like, if you hate it, just go and work at Tesco or whatever. Do something that's going to make you less angry and less miserable about what you do. What surprised me when I went into business is that he wasn't the only one. There was lots of employees that go to the job every day doing something they hate, but then even business owners. And what's that all about? Like, you decided to set up the business, you get to decide what that business looks like, and yet you've ended up with this unintentional business that wasn't the one that you had designed in the first place, and it's kind of running away from you a bit. So a lot of what we help business owners to do is to actually design the business the way they want it and make the really difficult decisions that I find quite easy, because I'm just kind of not tolerant for having a business that I don't want. But other people find that really hard, and one of the difficult things is in pricing, because you get an exciting client, you get a big project, and you discount and you make compromises. Ron, can stop waffling. In order to win them. So that's about this unintentional business, and what I would rather everybody in this room was doing is actually building a business by design. It's your business. The only thing that's unique about your business is it's the only one that serves you. Everything else can be copied, but this one is the only one that serves you. And make sure that you design it and on your terms, and you call the shots for this business that you're building. No one else decides market price or the services that you deliver, how you deliver them, how you price them. It's all entirely up to you. When I see lots of businesses that fall for this unintentional business, which is most of them, it's normally one or two things. It's either that they don't actually have the skills to have the confidence to price properly. Maybe their skills are outdated, they're no longer relevant in the market. However, that's very few and far between. Most of the time, it's the will thing. And again, it's not normally will in terms of lack of desire, lack of will to work hard. That's normally there as well. It's the will to be brave and to make the really difficult decisions. Lots of business owners say, I'll just work harder, I'll just work longer, I'll just keep going, as if it's all going to get solved. But actually all they're doing is taking on the same type of wrong clients, delivering the wrong projects, keeping the same wrong staff. And they say things like, you know, if this ship goes down, I'm going down with it, and I'll take a pay cut before my team do. So they're already kind of setting themselves up for mediocrity and failure at worst. So the will thing is about having the will to make the tough decisions, and every successful business owner that I've met have been the ones that just make the decisions that need to be made, whether it pleases people or not. So want to talk a little bit about pricing, and I'm not going to give you like a maths lesson today. It's going to be very simple. But I think when people think about pricing and they think about if my prices were £88 an hour instead of 80, then that would make very little difference. Well, actually, it would make a massive difference. So a 10% increase in your prices across your client base for a 20% profit agency. So typically we see the benchmark for an agency is like a service business, typical digital agency is to be benchmarking somewhere around a 20% net profit. If you're an agency doing 20% profit now and you increase your prices by 10%, you actually increase your bottom line by 50%. So you go from 20% to 30% net profit. That's a 50% increase. That small subtle shift, that's the tiredness kicking in, of a 10% increase in price is actually increasing your bottom line net profit by 50%. Now, how powerful is that? I think what you can do with that extra 50%, and you don't need every client to say yes. You don't need every client to do it because you've just created an extra 50% profit margin anyway. So that's a little bit about the effect of increasing your prices. And again, it reduces the amount of work you have to do. The higher profit margins that you have, the less sales you have to do, the less clients you have to work with, the less work you have to deliver, the less staff that you need, because you're now operating on higher profit margins. It's just making everything that little bit easier. And it's great for your team. Your team ultimately, as lots of people have talked about, money is not the number one motivator. It's feeling fulfilled with the work that they're doing. They want to do great work for your clients. But what happens in many businesses, you operate on tight margins and it's all about volume and moving quickly and getting on to the next thing, and they're not able to apply their craft to the depth that they'd like to because everything's very rushed. If you're operating on higher profit margins with fewer clients, then they can really take the time to provide very high quality service to fewer clients. So it's great for morale, it's great for customer service because, you know, with the way that we've set up MAP, every business talks about being proactive. Like, what does that mean? Everyone claims that they're proactive, but for me, unless you actually systemize proactivity, it'll never happen consistently. Your staff are never going to get it quite the way that you do. So unless you've actually put a system in place to make sure proactivity happens, then somewhere along the line, it's going to kind of fall off a cliff. So we set minimum fees. We have monthly contact call with every single client if they're not already signed up for a monthly meeting. Everything that they want, they can get and they can pay for it, or they can not pay for it and not get it. It's entirely up to them. They can pick and choose exactly what's right for them. But we're in regular contact with our clients because we've built that into our pricing model to make sure that, again, the majority of clients, the majority of leads that we get into our business, we turn down. And I'm not saying that to be cocky or to show off. I'm saying it because I'm really serious about protecting our business and our team and our client base to be only those people that love what we do. So we turn down most of the leads that come in because they don't want a firm that actually is going to help them to grow the business, be proactive, be in touch regularly. They just want someone to tick the boxes, and that's not us. And what I'm trying to do is help agencies to do the same so that you can charge a premium, build in proactivity, really build in that personal touch, and just become a celebrity for a few. I'm a big fan of Dan Priestley. If any of you have read his books, they're fantastic. And he wrote a book called Oversubscribed. You've read it, Martin, I think? Have you? Yeah. Yeah, we started reading about the same time, actually, a few years ago. Did I? Yeah. Sent lots of copies. Yeah, he needs to start giving me commission, I'll tell you. Dan Priestley's book, Oversubscribed, is all about, it starts with a simple concept of supply and demand. If demand's higher than supply, then you can have an oversubscribed business. So if two people want one thing, you're already oversubscribed, so technically you can be oversubscribed with two clients. And what many people are trying to do, especially now with social media, is to be like globally famous, and you don't need that. You just need to be famous for a small few so that you always have more demand than you have supply. Until you suss that out, you're always going to be compromising on the quality of clients that you bring in. If you need to meet payroll at the end of the month and you've got one client knocking at the door and they're not a great client, you're going to take them on. But if you've got two, you've now got a choice and you can now take on the best one, and that's what the oversubscribed philosophy is all about. And your brand, people talk about an indicator for agencies, a KPI, revenue per head is a typical KPI for a service business. The more revenue you know, a £10 million business isn't great if it has 1,000 people. It's making no money. A £500,000 business or a £200,000 business can be amazing if it's working on 5 or 2 people. So people talk about this benchmark of £1,000 a head. We've got 135 clients. Probably 5 of them are doing 100 grand a head and the rest aren't. That doesn't mean it's not possible. You shouldn't be benchmarking yourself against the rest and mediocrity. You should be benchmarking yourself against what you can do and what you can achieve and work out what's successful for you. But none of those few that are doing 100 grand a head are cheap. Every single one of them is charging a premium price, and every single one of them is delivering a fantastic service. But you can't wait until your service is perfect to charge the price that you need to charge. If you really care about your clients, you'll kind of figure it out anyway. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Charge the right price, and then you'll work it out and be creative along the way because you care, and then over time you'll slowly refine it. But you just can't put this thing in the future as though it's something that you'll one day get round to and do. You've just got to get on with it and do it. So the alternative to this idea of ending up with this business by default, by charging substandard prices because the rest of the market are charging, is to work out the financial performance that you want for you. And that starts with outside of business, thinking about what you actually need for your lifestyle and just trying to remove yourself from the emotional attachment of creating this wonderful business for a minute and reminding yourself that you need a certain level of income from that business and you might want to grow the asset by a certain amount. So it's working out what that financial performance needs to look like to give you the lifestyle that you want, so you end up with no regrets. And you can figure that out, which is effectively the bottom line that you want to produce from your business. It's the profit. Once you know the profit, you need to work out the running costs of your business. So we all have running costs, unfortunately. We all have offices to pay for, marketing to pay for, IT to pay for, HR to pay for, etc. So you work out the running costs for your business and you add that to what it is you want out of it. Can we share these slides afterwards, by the way? Yeah. Once you've done those two things, it now tells you what the kind of break-even point for your business is before you can actually pay everyone else, before you can think about paying yourself. And the next thing to do is to work out the capacity of your team. So you work out the available days, working days in a year from your team after subtracting holidays and sickness and the fact that you've got a piss up at Christmas and a business development meeting every week and all the other stuff that goes on, training, etc. internally. And then you've got what's left for you to do, chargeable work for your clients. Make sure when you're doing this, you do it kind of on a cautious basis. Don't assume that your team are going to work in 95% flat out on client time. That never happens. Typically, if you can hit anything like 80% utilisation, you're doing really well. But be cautious and do 70% and see what available time that gives you. Once you know the time that's available from your team, you can work out the rates that you must charge in order to cover the costs, give you the profit that you want, and apply that cost to the time that you've got available, and that will give you the revenue that's now achievable for your business. So in order to move forward with this, I've created a tool called Profit Maximizer tool, which is available for free on our website. And what that'll allow you to do is just list all your staff out. You don't put the names in, you just put the salaries of your staff. You put the utilisation rate next to it, so how much time they can realistically spend on chargeable work. Again, don't put more than 80% for even the developer that you think works 12 hours a day just on clients. Just put 80% as a maximum, as a rule of thumb. If you do that for that utilisation rate, it'll tell you the revenue that you're going to earn in the next 12 months and the net profit as well, because you put the overheads in there. So that'll give you a really nice, simple summary. Once you look at that, you can compare it to existing rates and see whether your rates are what they need to be. Again, I advise that what comes out of this is a minimum. You want to also relate to value here. Like if this comes out at £80 an hour, but you know your clients are willing to pay 100, then you don't charge 80, you definitely charge 100, because the fact that you can charge less, why should that be passed on to your clients. This is your business, and if you get better at what you do, more efficient at what you do, then that should go drip straight down to the bottom line. And again, it's that perception of price as well. You will get turned down from certain businesses because you were too cheap, because they'll have an anxiety that you don't believe in what it is that you sell. And then, are you recovering what you need to be? So it's okay saying 70, 80%, but when you look at your timesheets, you're actually recovering that time, or is it getting written off? And if it's getting written off, either you're putting too much onerous admin on your team, so they're not able to spend enough time on client work, or they're doing client work that hasn't been agreed and hasn't been signed off by the client. And again, this is why going back to the proposal and the scoping at the start, that's why that's so important. So 5-step method to increasing your prices. First of all, work out what your ideal client profile is. You should only work with people that fall under your ideal client profile, unless you're in survival mode and desperation mode, which hopefully you're not. You should be working with the clients that meet your ideal client profile, because they're the ones that are going to pay you on time, buy more services, pay the right price, tell their friends about you, keep coming back, keep your team happy, allow you to build a brand and build a business. They're the people that you want to be working with. I know that sounds scary, but just think about this. Think about the concept of doubling your prices. If you said to your team, what would we need to do with our business to double our prices? They'd all say, no chance, no way we can double our prices. And they might be right. But if you can think about it in those terms, you'll have to get really sharp in terms of what your service delivery looks like, what your operations looks like, what your marketing needs to say. You'll set a really high benchmark for yourself if you have no other option than to double your prices. If I was making you double your prices, you'd have to build lots of great stuff into your business. So just getting into that mindset means that when you then increase them by 10%, it suddenly feels right that you're doing it. Update your rate card. So an obvious one, I guess, but just once you've updated your prices, it can't just be verbal. It actually has to be written down into your rate card or whatever it is that you use. Announce the new pricing. So don't just keep it to yourself, and you've got other people going out still selling the same stuff at the old price. You need to actually announce the new pricing to your team so that they understand it. And update your proposal tool, whatever that might be. Make this objective. Another good thing about having a proposal tool is that you can kind of blame the tool as well. So if a client's saying, "Oh, why is it that price?" That's what comes out as the tool. There's nothing I can do about it. They're the prices. It makes it kind of much more objective. Whereas if you're just saying something on your head, it's so much easier for people to argue with it. And another thing I say is, well, this is what all other clients that are your size pay for this service. And then there's suddenly that guilt trip of, now I'm actually asking this person to discount prices for me when other people are paying the right price. So there's so much psychology that goes into having a proposal tool, whether it's a Word document or an online application. It just removes a lot of that emotion and that discretion in terms of this stuff. And clients like it as well, because they see the transparency in it. When we do this with clients, if the fee comes out more than they're expecting to pay, we just say, what do you not want then? You know, what can we take off there for you? And that's not to be funny, that's to say there might be things on here that we can train you to do, or we can add them on at some point in the future, but you don't have to buy it all now. But if you do buy it, you do have to pay for it. And it's entirely at their discretion, and they like that transparency. Also, just by doing it in front of them face to face, just removes a lot of that awkward, long-winded follow-up afterwards, where you're ringing your client and they're ignoring your calls because they've seen your proposal on an email and they're scared of the price and they don't know how to tell you. And they'll come up with every excuse to avoid you or to not sign up. Just have that conversation face to face. Have your first meeting with your client, get to understand their needs. Go away if you need to do some research and need to do some thinking and work with your team, and then come back and put the proposal together with them and look them eye to eye. If they're scared of the price, talk to them about what things maybe they thought they needed at the start that they don't necessarily need. And then you just get, and if they say this is just not going to work for me, at least you know now, rather than be someone that's in your bloated pipeline for months, just creating your extra admin. So it just brings all of this stuff forward. This is the proposal template that I spoke about before. So this is Lee Goff, who I mentioned in the States, who built his agency, 10 years to get to 1 million, and then another 3 years to triple it to 3 million. And that was when he made that transition of I'm not working in this business, I'm owning this business, and I'm going to build a team to run it for me. And then he sold it. So 3 years later, when it was at 3 million, he sold it for multiple millions, because it was a good agency, it was making good money, it was scalable, he wasn't involved in it, he had the perfect recipe to exit. And I make no small thing of that. I've still yet to see very few owner-managed businesses that have successfully sold their agency at all, let alone sold it for a price that they're happy with. Everybody talks about exiting as though it's like the natural thing at the end of your business. Isn't. Very rarely it actually happens. For someone to actually build a multi-million-pound business and sell it is a fantastic achievement, and you don't do it without making those difficult decisions. So Lee's produced this proposal template, which has been refined over time for all the things that worked and didn't work in his agency. So he's developed it, and also by coaching other agencies as well. And it's just like an editable template where you change all the bits in red, and you might want to make it a little bit less American, a little bit more you, but the fundamental psychology is all built in there. On his website, yeah.
So when we do a follow-up, we can send a link to all these
Yep.
things, because I've got these and they're actually really good at bringing some processes to the working life. It just makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
And helps you charge more, so we'll send these on to you as well.
Yeah, and I think it just makes you do it as well. Like, you might think, oh yeah, I can already do all that myself. Well, maybe you can, but have you done it yet? This is just there, you just go and take it. So that's about it really. How are we doing for time? We on time? Again, going back to my message at the start, I never want to be in my dad's situation of, I won't even spend like a day doing something that I don't enjoy. I'm not saying that every day is like a good day and every day is a high, but I won't be going down a track that I don't want to go down, and I don't want you guys to do that either. You're entrepreneurs, you get to wake up every morning and design your own day. You've not got a boss telling you what to do, unless you're an employee. You get to call the shots and you get to design this business on your terms, and one of the main ways that you do that is to put off the wrong clients, attract the right clients by charging the right prices, and the right prices are what you decide are the right prices. And don't be deterred by people saying no. People will say no, and people should say no. If people are not rejecting you on price at the moment, then you're too cheap. This cuts right through the heart of so many things, and just enable you to build a much better business. Thank you.